going to examine the evidence of my neighbor's house that was hit with plasma fire a couple weeks ago. While I was making a video, the house caught fire, and before the flames were even out, I called it and said I think he may have gotten hit. Notice these two sides are unburned here and here. This one's highly burned. Highly burned. I made a video of this post while it was standing in the ground. I'll include the link in the description. I'll include the link in the description of the video that I was making when this house caught fire. And the whole thing only took about 30 minutes. You see that fire doesn't do this. Two sides completely unburned, one side completely, actually two sides completely burned. The other thing fire absolutely does not do is leave this small strip. On this side, it's completely unburned other than that finger width right there. So two unburned sides and two highly burned sides. And I'm taking this post home with me because I thought it was gone. I thought they disappeared it. When I came back the second day, I made note of the fact that this board was gone and that I thought they had done it in order to disappear the evidence so people didn't see something happened here that wasn't just fire. So these are the fires that are happening in California right now. This is the reason they've shut off the power. Again, fire doesn't do this. Burn something highly burned here with unburned there and unburned there. We'll get some more examples of this. That post was standing right here. Maybe here, maybe here, maybe here. Somewhere in this small area. You can see the difference between the burned part here and the unburnt part up there. Lighting is a little bit difficult here. So I won't spend too much time on this spot. There we go. We'll have to come back tomorrow morning because there is a line that goes straight up the pole right here. Burnt on the right. I'm sorry, burnt on the left, unburnt on the right. Goes straight up the pole right there. And then it kind of curves over that way at the bottom, but here, straight up the pole, dividing it right in the middle. And I don't think you can see it well right now because of the lighting, so I'll have to come back in the morning, get you another shot of that, because I didn't even notice that before. Took me a little spill. This one has very similar markings, and yes, it's highly burnt on the right, unburnt on the left. So that side of the pole burned while this side of the pole remained unburned. But I use the term burn very loosely because as you can see, this unburned spot in the middle of a highly burnt post, fire doesn't leave unburnt spots. I'm going to go down the way here and show you a bunch more examples of that. First, let's check this one out. Unburnt spot in the middle of a highly burnt pole. And that burn area goes on this. I'll just wait till tomorrow morning and come back. Because this is very telling. To see this pole burnt on one side and not the other. Like this. These are the telltale signs that once you get used to knowing what you're looking at, you see them all over. In the midst of all this highly burned area, this one little tiny piece of wood that's unburned, that proves fire didn't do this. That one little piece. But I don't want to focus too much on one little piece. So let's go on down here. Check out some more of these unburned strips. Right here. Focus. Unburned here. Unburned here. In the midst of the highly burned section. Fire doesn't do that. This is electricity for sure, and it only took 30 to 45 minutes for this whole place to go up. from one side to the other, and it's like it went straight to each edge of the property, like a straight line going that way, straight line at the street. Well, anyway, let's just check these out real quick one more time. There's the unburned strip here, the unburned strip there. You can even see a little one right there in the middle, little unburned strip. We're gonna go down here and look at some more of the uneven burn pattern. Ooh. Lighting's not right, I'll catch that one tomorrow. But what we can catch is this right here. Fire don't do that. 30 minutes and this guy's house was gone from the outside. From the time the first person noticed smoke, which was the neighbor who lives right there, said they noticed it started on fire. They went inside and grabbed their camera, and by the time they got back, this tree was engulfed in flames clear to the top. And I would say that's probably having to do with the aluminum particles that absorb into the bark. So here's another unburned spot here amidst highly burned everywhere else. So you can see it's not burning from the outside in, but vice versa. I just want to go back to here one more time since we got good lighting. Oh, that's right. That's what else I want to do. This log is hollowed out. See how it burned from the inside right here? I'm going to stick this piece right through it. See it coming out the other side over there? See this highly burned black area right here? Right next to completely untouched. Untouched here, and by the way, this is the bottom side where flame would come from if this were the real world. And that's the inside there. While this fire started, I was making a video talking about fires, and I had Sidekick Tree right next to me. Sidekick Tree is a tree that I took from one of these Promethean fire forests. Promethean fire, that's the technology stolen from the gods. And I had Sidekick Tree right next to me making a video when this fire happened. And before the smoke was even gone, I said, I think he got hit. There is now no question. This was plasma fire. Look how burnt it is over here, untouched here. Look how burnt this piece is here, untouched here, and here. Not sure how well this is going to work. There we go. You can see the highly burned spot here, surrounded by unburned all over. Why is it so highly burned here? Has something to do with this board that's coming in and the nail that goes in there to drive the two together. Because if I could position it just right, you can see right here where it went from unburned to burned. It took out quite a bit right there. Same thing happened just up above. See if we can't get this to work with us. Hold on. Come on, lighting, there we go. You can see unburned here, but highly burned here around this board and the other one. So what happens here is where this board is nailed into the other one that goes that way. Likewise here, it's highly burned there and highly burned here. I've seen this other places where the nail that connects the two works as some sort of a grounding effect. This board's another good example. This is the one that has a highly burned spot there and unburned here and here. Right up here, unburned in the middle, highly burned on both edges. right here. Highly burned on the end. Good to go the rest of the way, except for this little spot right here. And what do you notice? The nails that produce the grounding effect. And then it's good to go for a ways until you hit this other end and it's highly burned again. But notice how unburnt that is on this side, and these small chips of burned area along the corner. Oops. I think my neighbor has a good idea that there was an electrical line running from that to this corner of the house, where they say, first they said it was a cigarette butt. Look at this pine cone. Look at the tips. Notice the tips are black and everything else about the pine cone is unburnt. Ever seen a pine cone look anything like that? Fire don't do that. It doesn't leave the rest of the pine cone unburnt. Wow. That's just cool looking right there. I gotta take this with, maybe lacquer it up. And you notice this side doesn't have the same effect. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's definitely a keeper. And it's not the only one. This one seems to have had the same basic effect happening to it. So now that we've established this was a plasma fire, we're going to get into some of the strange and bizarre that I can't as easily explain and identify and narrate as we're watching, because I've seen this wood burn pattern 100 times. Some of the things we're about to see I haven't seen as many times, so it'll be my first time seeing it as well. But we're going to go over the moped where all the wiring harness completely melted. First, let's go check these out. These were in a pile right there. These jeans here. You'll notice the burning around the edge, but not in the middle. Same thing with these. Burning around the edge, not in the middle. Same thing here. Around the edge. Burnt all around the edge of this stack of jeans. And there's like a fifth example right here, however many that is so far. So whatever this is a reproducible phenomenon. You throw some stacks of jeans in your yard, and when the fires happen, you'll know if they were plasma fires, because it'll do this. So, is your brain gravy yet? It should be, because this is some hardcore brain gravy. But people were pointing out, oh, by the way, the burn-unburn pattern is all over here, all the wood. Not only is this one on an unburned spot next to burned wood right on the same piece of wood, it has a highly burned piece of wood next to it, and above it, and probably below it. So the burn-unburn pattern is all over here. Highly burn, unburn. unburn. Highly burn, unburn. Just to cover that real quick so I don't have to cover it anymore, I'm going to just run around here and show you. This one even has the little black circle here that matches the pattern I've identified before for the explanations that I've already given. Unburn, burn. Unburned center screen, burned all around. Again, so this burn, unburn, inconsistent pattern, this whole place is just riddled with it. See how hot this piece must have gotten? Along with all the other pieces around this one. Only someone who understands electricity well would be able to understand this and explain it any better than I can, other than, look, look! But, so yeah, the burn, unburn pattern goes all the way around here. There's another good one. Okay, so now we'll get back to the brain gravy with the plastic. See that unburned spot right in the middle of all this wood that burned? Anyway, I'll stop. So, people in California during the California Paradise Fires were pointing out that the garbage cans were melted in weird ways that did not match the appearance of fire would be on one side. Anyway, so there's an igloo cooler. And I believe most of this is exactly the way it was during the fire. I don't think he's moved much of this around at all. Like this bucket of rocks. It's a bucket of rocks. What once was a bucket of rocks. See the bucket right next to it? And the hole that was melted in that bucket? Why is it completely untouched here? Gone right here. How is there such a big difference between here and here? Again, only someone who understands electricity and the wave patterns and whatever else goes along with it could explain this any better than I can. But the inconsistency is what I can surely say. Why is this so highly melted here, but right there, untouched? That's good rubber. You can still see the Rubbermaid sign. Totally untouched. And here, if there was ever a Rubbermaid sign, it wouldn't be still apparent. Same thing with this. You can see the hinges. This used to be a cooler. This used to be the bottom of the cooler. That was the top. And it's no longer even closely resembling a cooler. This green plastic that's been melted clear to the ground was a similar tub to this blue one. Like a Rubbermaid tub. I can see by the edge of it, the corner of it here. And why is it relatively untouched on this side compared to the rest of it? Because it was electricity and plasma that did this, not fire. That's why it leaves the remnants that look nothing like what we have come to understand. Is this melted glass? That is melted glass. Whoa. Okay, I'm gonna have to work through this. Yeah, I can't even lift it up. It's all melted together. I'm not sure if that's plastic or glass. I guess that part might be plastic. I thought it was melted glass. I would not be surprised to find melted glass here. This bucket right here, though, should be enough. How can it be so hot right here to melt that stuff completely gone and not even blackened, not even soot, not even anything on the rest of the bucket? There's another plastic container that apparently held rocks right behind it. Gone. Untouched. These are the bizarre fire anomalies that people in California all over Paradise, and the other ones, the Con-Cal fire, and the other ones, the campfire fire. Here, this looks like a garbage can lid. That was the edge of a garbage can lid. And the glare is kind of messing with me here, but you can see how highly melted it is here, completely missing here. Yet that part of it, you can still read the word close. Something, something to close. How could that be so untouched in one spot and completely melted in the other? In fact, it wasn't a garbage can lid, it was the lid to this container right here. This part went right there. So yeah, nothing's really been moved here. Most people, because they can't quite comprehend, they say, well, what do you expect? Of course plastic melts in a fire. Not this inconsistently, it doesn't. In a plasma fire, this is something different than anything we've ever seen. And it's normalcy bias and cognitive dissonance that cause people to want to believe it was just a fire. This is like a fire, like a nuclear bomb is a firecracker. There may be some similarities, but only in the remnants, and they're very slim similarities. So here you can see again, there's that edge, and this whole corner is gone. But this was a plastic tub holding rocks. That piece still resembles what it once did. This piece, you can still read the words. Press to close, lift to open. The corner, gone. Fire doesn't run that inconsistently. Fire would have at least blackened this part and that part if it melted this part to the point where it's just completely gone. There's a small remnant of melted plastic there on the ground. What happens, it's like waveform patterns, and where the electricity comes, there's a barrier wall. There's a straight line between where it was and where it wasn't. So this bucket we've checked out, this bucket is the same. You can see the remnants of it here, and it spilled its load out here. But here, it's relatively untouched. Completely untouched. And here, you can still read the paper writing on the label. Nutrition facts of whatever this was. I'd have to look a little closer. It's not really my point. My point is, untouched, melted. Untouched, melted. Fire don't do that. So, moving right along, these yellow buckets had these red lids on them, apparently. And as you can see, highly melted. I'll probably come grab some of this stuff and just round it up as anomalies. I'm gonna probably lacquer some of this stuff. Some of the wood product I'll lacquer. This, you can see, is the remnant of one of those yellow buckets, and the red lid. Red lid right here, yellow bucket right there, completely disappeared. There wasn't enough fuel around that to get it that hot. I don't need to say it, do I? Look how big that log is. Imagine how much heat it must have taken to get that much wood burning to that extent. And look right there. Look right there. Not even blackened, because it was electricity, it was plasma. So here's another cooler. It looks like this was a cooler. Because I can see the foam over here, that's the foam insulation. And a little bit of it down here as well. Notice how completely untouched this plastic is. It still maintains the same texture as it did from the store. And that's actually on the bottom side. So if flames were reaching up and turning this to the condition that it's in now, it would have hit that. That's the bottom side. Totally untouched, totally disappeared. And this is what the people in California are looking forward to seeing when they return home after the fires that have chased, oh, I don't know, how many people have been evacuated now? 100,000? 10,000? 100,000? Something like that. That's just in the most recent round. This is more of the remnants that they're getting used to seeing in California. So this is a moped, what was once a moped. That melted spot of plastic right there was the oil cap. Notice this right here that used to be the peg, made out of some sort of rubber. Why did it burn so hot on this side, untouched on that side? And these are just all rhetorical questions. I really don't expect an answer. Because the answer is pretty much beyond our comprehension. But what so we look at this side here, and you can see this was a bucket or a bin, a gray bin. There's the top corner, comes down, there's the bottom. And this is all the melted remnants of the gray bin, and there's the melted edge of it here. But there's the inside of that side. Yeah, sorry. So about the only thing I can point out of this is why it's so untouched here and here, but slaughtered there. And left all this relatively untouched as well. How come this plastic is gone? That's actually a good one. This plastic of this one is gone right next to this plastic of this one that's untouched. And I mean, they're touching, right? There's where they touch. There's where the two come together. Now that's a good example right there of the phenomenon that's actually happening here. Because it's like electricity was coursing through this and burning it, but focusing on this part of it. Likewise, electricity was coursing through this one, but focusing on this part of it. And even right there where they come together, you can see that the gray plastic on the right is completely untouched. And the white plastic on the left is disintegrated. Yet it got hot again enough over here to melt the gray plastic, but right there the gray plastic's unmelted and the plastic that it's touching is disintegrated. That's the bizarre nature of how these fires work. Notice these two are melted at the top, but not anywhere else along them. What I noticed about this one is it's got antifreeze in it. I can see when I shake it around, it's got antifreeze in it. Apparently, that's why it didn't melt on the bottom, and it only melted the top. So, maybe this is a clue. Maybe we need to remember to use antifreeze on anything we don't want to burn. Because what John Knox, who says, cultivate your common sense, discovered is the reason we were seeing the pylons on the freeway burning like Roman torches is because the liquid that they use inside was working as a conductor. The liquid that they use to keep the posts on the guardrail from weather rot, and possibly as a fire retardant, was actually working as a conductor, and that's why they'd light up like a Roman candle. And all the guardrail posts were on fire along the roads in Paradise, California and elsewhere in those California fires. So maybe we need to remember antifreeze. Instead of spraying your house down with water, make a ring of antifreeze around the perimeter or something. I don't know. That's just another anomaly. I know it's hard to even see what we're looking at here. That was a cooler. This was a fold-up card table with wood on the top. This was similarly a fold-up card table, picnic table style fold-up table with plastic on the top. This plastic is relatively untouched, still in the same general condition that it started in, but all around completely melted right next to this flimsy wood that's very flimsy, as you can see. See the unburnt spot? Again, fire don't do that. And by the way, that was on the bottom side. And so, how could this much plastic be completely gone? Took very high temperatures to melt it like that, to the point where it's completely dripped through or whatever. Right next to this. Some of this stuff may have been moved, admittedly, but I don't think so. I think the guys pretty much left it all right where it was. And that right there tells you all you need to know. It's electricity, and it has to do with the conductivity of the material. You can see this wire harness has been reduced to nothing but the wires. The outer plastic casing on the wires that was a moped, that used to be a speedometer, presumably a speedometer, maybe a fuel meter, and all the plastic's gone, including the plastic that encases the wires, and the only thing left is the metal itself. Just like on the car rims and the car tires, the rubber of the tire will be gone, and the belts, the steel belts within the middle, will be the only thing remaining. Yep, that was definitely the plastic housing of the speedometer and the fuel meter. And the only thing left is the wires. And he said this happened with everything that had wires on the whole property. He's been starting to notice the anomalies himself. I haven't talked to him too much, but I know he noticed something, because that cable that comes down over there, I'll have to spot it, but there's a phone line, a power line coming down through the trees right there, hanging down here. He said, they said it went over here and caught fire, that it jumped from the tree, the cigarette or whatever jumped from the tree into the house, but then how could this tree